I understand that in response to this interview you've done with The New Yorker, you have now received a cease and desist letter from the Trump Organization's chief legal officer, demanding, among other things, that you return all the royalty payments that you received from the book, retroactively going back to when you wrote it many years ago. Is that true, and are you worried?
It is true. I think Jane Mayer is maybe just putting up a story about that on the New Yorker website. But yes, it is true. I got almost immediately that cease and desist letter delivered to me, by FedEx. And, it's nuts and completely indicative of who he is. There's no basis in anything legal. I suspect that Donald Trump called up his chief legal person and said, go after that guy and do whatever you have to do. So this poor head of legal affairs for the Trump Organization had to concoct some fakakta stuff about most of which is untrue. So, for example, this notion that I didn't write the book is so preposterous. I am not certain that Donald Trump read every word, but I'm sure certain that I wrote every word. And he made a few red marks on the manuscript and sent it back to me, and the rest was history. The idea that he would dispute that is part of why I felt I had to come forward. The notion that if he could lie about that, Rachel, he could lie about anything. And if you look at the evidence of this campaign, time after time after time, that's what's happened. As I listened earlier to Ted Cruz and all those comments he made, it really sent a chill up my spine, because his analysis of Trump's character is remarkably accurate and fiercely negative. And yet he will stand up there tonight and he will pull his punches. I felt somebody who had a clear exposure to Trump had to stand up, and unfortunately that had to be me.
Tony, first, I guess I might have to volunteer to be a witness for you, because, in fact, I have had both you and Donald Trump in our one telephone conversation describe that same process of writing the book, that you would make him focus, that you would interview him and make him focus, and that's the only way you could get the book done.
Well, I learned journalism at your knee, Gene, at the University of Michigan. So.
Tony, one of the things that you say about Donald Trump's character, and doesn't seem to be a personal assessment, it seems sort of to be a psychological assessment, is that you describe him as completely compulsive. Quote, if the only thing left was, quote, the only thing left was running for president. If he could run for emperor of the world, he would. I'm assuming you're speaking hyperbolically there, but a lot of people have sort of been armchair psychologists trying to figure out why Donald Trump ran for president, why he gave up the life he had in order to live this new life as a politician. You feel like this is something that was actually quite predictable based on his previous life.
Well, I don't know that it was predictable that he would run for president, but as I say in the piece, I've always seen him as a black hole, as someone who cannot fill himself with a sense of value from anything that comes internally. And so he constantly, throughout his life, way before I met him and long since I met him, has tried to fill up that hole that apparently exists inside him by getting more and more money, more and more praise, more and more attention. And as he said today again, all publicity is good publicity. Now, that is crazy. That is simply crazy. What kind of human being says all publicity is good publicity? If it's horrific comments about a person and about your character, that's not good publicity. That's a bad character assessment. The most meaningful thing to me about Donald Trump, the scariest thing, is that his supporters, the really rabid ones, the ones who've written me these vitriolic, hate-filled letters in the last several days, don't understand that he does not care about them. He has no interest in them except so far as they vote for him. He will no more take care of him than he will the people who went through Trump University. Those are, many of them, people in the same kind of circumstances in life. They don't have any advantage, and they're looking for somebody to come along and be their savior. Donald Trump has no intention of being anyone's savior but his own. Full stop.
Tony Schwartz, author of Art of the Deal, ghostwriter of Art of the Deal, a book Donald Trump may have mentioned once or twice during the campaign. Tony, thank you very much for coming on the air with us.
Yeah, thank you.